And we are back. So, with the election, I thought it would be fun to talk about maybe not all of the wrestlers who became politicians, but at least some notable ones.
Sure.
Let's go back to the 1800s with Abraham Lincoln. So, before he got into politics, he was a very accomplished wrestler. In the modern era of wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance claimed that their world championship had a lineage back to the days of Abraham Lincoln, who held a presumed world heavyweight champion. I am not kidding you there. In fact, his entire wrestling career was a big portion of his campaign. Because they basically said that he was both a fighter and a man of the people. And that was actually part of his political campaign, was that he was strong physically, strong mentally, and that he would stand on the rocks in the front lines for the Civil War. Civil or Revolutionary? Yes.
Civil War.
Civil War. I'm like, Civil War sounded right, but I doubted myself because I might be intoxicated. Anyway,
yes.
But yes, actually, his wrestling acumen at the time was a big part of why he won, because he physically was built well, he was tall, and then with his wrestling acumen, that's how partially he won the election. It was kind of weird. Nikolai Volkov is a registered Republican, and he attempted to jump into a larger American political scene, entering the Republican primary for the state delegate in Maryland, but was defeated. As of right now, he is still a very grassroots level portion of Maryland as a politician. Mm-hmm. I think he ran for school board a couple of times, and then he did a little thing for his county, to what I read. Rick Steiner, which is a super weird one, attempted to become a member of his local school board in 2006, but was disqualified because he used his wrestling name, Rick Steiner, not his actual name.
Which is Rick Reichsteiner, right?
Yes, it was very close, as opposed to his real one on the ballot, which is a problem because, obviously, you can only do that when you're a wrestler. Fortunately for Steiner, he was able to run as a write-in candidate, and he actually won. He won this as Rick Steiner, and they had to go with it as Rick Steiner.
That's cool.
There are pictures of him with both signs that says re-elect Rick Steiner.
Nice.
On there because he was voted in as Rick Steiner.
Nice.
So I thought that one was a cool one because he won as a write-in candidate, which I don't think has happened pretty much ever.
No.
Even though it was local, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Ludwig Borga. I'm not sure if you've heard of this individual.
Nope.
This was a big project that McMahon wanted to do for a heel. Early 90s heel run. He was based out of Ireland, but they wanted him to become a Russia. He was a foreigner heel, right? So after he left, he went back to his state of Ireland, where he was elected a member of parliament. And went on to become one of the most controversial political figures in the country's history.
And which country is this?
This is Finland.
Excellent.
So among the notable indiscretions, we're calling the president of Finland a lesbian. So he later apologized, saying that he did not mean it as an insult, because he actually thought that she was a lesbian.
Which is untrue.
Right. With a battle of alcoholism, which during the time he actually was in Parliament more so drunk than any other time that he was actually in session.
Sounds like about half of our politicians.
He had to be actually dragged out because he was so intoxicated.
Nice.
And with him being committed to a mental hospital, and ultimately, unfortunately, Borga committed suicide at the end of his term.
All right.
In 1999, at the height of WWE's popularity, Jerry the King Lawler put himself on the ballot to run for mayor of Memphis, which was mostly seen as a political stunt, and perhaps it was. But Lawler ran on the platform of education, safety, and city beautification, earning 11.7% of the vote. Mm-hmm. So obviously he lost.
Right.
Unfortunately, that was a good thing. that was only good for the third place, although Lawler did finish higher than 12 other candidates.
Right.
So there was a lot of competition within this race in 1999. He would try again in 2006, finishing 5th, which seemed to have ended his dreams of mayoralship. I remember that was actually a fairly big story.
Right.
In 2016, obviously this is a bigger one, Rhino took his break from his wrestling duties in order to run for a seat in the House of Representatives in his home state of Michigan.
Yeah.
Actually, his current Instagram that has been verified is his political Instagram. I think it was like vote for Terrence or something like that, his actual name. Where they decided that he would be featured on WWE.com for this endeavor. Because I think at this time he was actually SmackDown Tag Team Champions too.
Yes.
Rhino's platform involved education through increased salaries for teachers, road improvements, and fiscal responsibility. I'm not sure what that is. I just pulled this from
that just means that's money being spent.
Right. Okay. I mean, I guess the way that he did it is fine. Unfortunately, despite a fairly entertaining campaign and the additional attention that he got from being the SmackDown Tag Team Champions while running, Rhino lost his bid in very convincing ways. Yeah. Unfortunately, because that kind of sucks. Yeah. I thought that at least he tried. Yeah. And he actually tried to do as best he could.
That's true.
I actually watched a couple of his campaign videos and stuff. It was really, really funny.
Yes.
But, he tried to do good. Let's talk about somebody who was actually incredibly successful.
Hooray!
At their campaign, because let's be a happy, joyous person.
Hooray!
Antonio Inoki was elected into the Japan's House of Counselors in 1989, while still an active pro wrestler. During his term in office, Inoki took a diplomatic mission into Iraq, where he successfully negotiated the release of several Japanese hostages from Saddam Hussein just before the first Gulf War.
Nice.
Which I think is really cool. Inoki was defeated for his position in the House in 1995, but was re-elected in 2013 due to his close ties with famed North Korean wrestler Ricky Dozen.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Huh. Inoki had worked tirelessly to attempt to open diplomatic ties with North Korea, even getting temporarily suspended from his position for taking an unauthorized trip to the country on the anniversary of the end of the Korean War.
Really? That's
so
cool.
Somebody who was actually very popular at the time that he was elected.
Right.
He actually did good, and then he tried.
Right.
He actually tried to do something that people, at least until 2017, 2018, thought that was never heard of.
Right.
Actually talking to the North Koreans about diplomacy.
Right. Well, in Japan, that's still very much frowned upon.
Right. Oh, it's frowned upon, but it's not like it's out of the realm of possibility. But let's talk about somebody who else. I said she, but I'm talking about
Linda McMahon.
Yes. So Linda McMahon was appointed to the Connecticut Board of Education, a position where many saw it as a springboard for an attempt to get into federal politics.
Right.
And indeed, she would quickly resign from that position and announce her candidacy for Senate later that year.
And this is not just the Connecticut Senate. This is like the United States Senate. Like, she was going to become one of the two cheeses.
Right. Now, obviously, she started with Connecticut going into it.
Right.
She had a very large amount of money to it as well. McMahon spent a large amount of money. Around $50 million. Now, for something like a Senate, that's a lot of money. That's big money.
Right.
To become the Republican nominee, but was soundly defeated in the election.
Right.
And her second try for the vacant Senate seat in 2012 went equally poorly.
Nice.
And she had not attempted for a third run as of yet.
I doubt that she will.
No. More importantly, Linda's Senate campaign caused shifts within WWE itself.
Yes.
As the company
Openly
began moving towards a more family-friendly, PG-rated product after years of skewing towards more mature audiences.
Right.
In addition, WWE began running advertisements during their programming, extorting fans to stand up for WWE.
Yep.
So yes, that campaign is because of Linda McMahon, which was a very thinly veiled political ad for McMahon's Senate campaign.
Yep.
She also was the
She also is the current head of the Florida Super PAC called American First Action.
Yes, and
because that is how the WWE was able to get around the coronavirus restrictions. Was that a very, very sizable donation was made to the DeSantis or to the Trump campaign?
It was a pro-Trump campaign. Yep.
So it was I guess it was directly towards the Trump campaign using the Super PAC.
And obviously, I'm an idiot and didn't put this down, but Linda McMahon was actually a part of Trump's board as the administration of small business.
Yes.
Where she was actually doing okay.
But I think I don't know if she voluntarily left or if she got fired.
She voluntarily left because
the Super PAC, right.
Yep.
Okay.
Because it would be a conflict of interest of somebody who ran a Super PAC being a person of administration.
So do you ever
Trump's
see
campaign.
Linda McMahon going back into the WWE? No. Because she's way too involved in the politics. So.
Right. And you know what? She has every right to do so.
Hey, good for her. She found something she's passionate about.
Right. Now it's a Super PAC, and I think they donated like $1 billion to Trump's campaign last time.
Well, at least they won in Florida.
It did. He absolutely won Florida.
Anyways, let's talk about...
Now, this one I really want to dive into.
Yeah!
Jesse the Body Ventura.
Yeah!
So, with his bluff, no-nonsense style, star power, and charisma allowed him to get elected as a mayor of Brooklyn Park, Minnesota in 1990.
Nice.
A position which he held for a full term. Ventura's political aspirations were higher than just mayor, however, leading to a shockingly successful campaign that saw him win the governor of Minnesota in 1998 while running as an independent candidate.
Yeah, which is unheard of.
That's huge. And also, it was a very Bernie Sanders-esque grassroots campaign.
It was.
Huge. He served as governor for a single term and has remained visible in politics ever since, publicly supporting gay rights. Even back then, he supported gay rights, which was unheard of back in 1998.
Especially, for both parties it was.
And also, he standing in opposition to both, which was enormous.
Right.
And even openly considered running for president in 2016 on the Libertarian ticket.
Right.
But then signed his expressive interest letter as a Green Party candidate for 2020. It never came to fruition, which I think they're retarded for not.
Right, well,
Now, I am going to say this as 1,000,000% being correct.
I would have voted for Jesse.
I think Jesse Ventura could have shaken up that landscape. He would have been on that floor with Biden and Trump.
Right.
I guarantee it. He was that significant. He also did great in the state that he wanted to be in.
Right.
He opened up a really big thing with Mexico where a lot of the wheat crops went there, so they actually gained a ton of new revenue for Corona.
Right.
He did a really good job, and I think that if he really did that, I think it really would have shaken up that third-party vote. The Green Party are a bunch of fucking idiots. I probably would have done it through the Libertarians, but obviously they wanted Joe and fucking Spike for some goddamn reason.
Anyways, talk about Donald Trump. So Donald Trump's presidency and McMahon's contributions to the Trump campaign have been mentioned time and time again. So we're not going to mention more of it because Donald Trump obviously is a member of the WWE Hall of Fame.
WrestleMania 23.
Vince McMahon and Donald Trump like to scissor it. I mean, we're just going to roll with it.
I would actually pay money to watch that.
And finally, how can we end up this whole segment without talking about Glenn Jacobs?
He defeated Linda Harley
Hanley,
whatever her name is, who cares? She lost by more than 66.5% of the vote, becoming the mayor of Knox County, Tennessee, as a Republican. So, which is kind of crazy.
But Glenn Jacobs is actually more libertarian than he is Republican. He ran on the Republican ticket.
Right. He's a very more moderate Republican. Oh, please, Republican Party, if you want to get back to seat, please put Glenn Jacobs in.
Kane for president.
How awesome would that be?
He'll bring an inferno.
He would burn up Biden anyway. So during his campaign,
feel the burn.
Did you? Just like his State Farm agency, where
every member is a superstar.
Unfortunately, they don't cover fire insurance.
Well, they do, but
conflict of interest. So anyway, during his campaign, Glenn Jacobs promised to bring back more jobs and business to the area, which he pseudo did.
Kind of. You know, it really. I haven't really followed it a lot, but yeah, apparently he's been doing okay.
Yeah, he's doing fine. Even though he made some controversial decisions based even on the mask wearing, he was the only vote against the mandate.
Right.
But obviously he was voted out against it. But he did win re-election.
Yes.
So, congratulations to him. Actually, I think he speaks very well.
And he does.
I think he would be a very interesting candidate
if he would decide to run for president.
That would be cool.
Yeah,
obviously.
Anyways,
I would obviously vote for Glenn Jacobs because, you made my childhood. Please.
Anyways, so that is a wrestling lesson.
He would make America the superstar.
Anyway, so that is wrestling lessons with Tiger Heights.
Yeah, did you enjoy it? Also, I did want to talk about Bob Backlund too because I didn't put in there. So he pseudo wanted to run for president back in I think like the early 90s, but it never really went anywhere.
Right.
He basically Kanye West it. He never really had any support, and it kind of went absolutely fucking nowhere because he was crazy. But it was something to at least mention. But I really want to talk about people who are actually in politics, who actually got on the ticket and ready to go.
Right. So anyways, when we come back from our break, we're going to talk about AEW's full fucking gear.
Yeah.